Resident Evil 4 VR is a bad 21 game, but it doesn't matter. In my view, there's a big difference between liking something and say that is good. I think I'm a point outside the curve. The console I have the longest in my life was the PlayStation 2, but I never liked Resident Evil 4. The whole idea that you need to stop and aim and shoot, I didn't like it. I've always been used to fast games, and Resident Evil 4 was too slow. That's and the guy with the chainsaw who cut my head and left me traumatized. I dropped the game. For a long time, I wanted to go back and try to understand why people talked so well about Resident Evil 4. To understand why my cousin liked this game so much. Years passed, 2021, Oculus announces Resident Evil 4 for virtual reality. And the trailers were showing things that bother me. The purpose of the game is not to take the next steps of VR. It doesn't want to move the media. It's simply a translation of the past to a reality that did not exist at that time, and that's just amazing.
Resident Evil 4.
The biggest difference between games and any other media is interactivity. But VR takes this to another level, because when reality becomes virtual, we tend to keep a lot of our reality inside of virtual reality. I would say that VR ends up adding an element of reaction. When a player looks at one box, he will want to pick it up. If he tries and fails, the immersion of that simulation is shattered, and the player realizes that there is a game. In normal games, this is very easy to happen because you are controlling the game through a controller or mouse, and there's a division between the player and the screen. This division being the real world. Yeah, even with this barrier, we still manage to immerse ourselves in these games, and a lot of people were immersed playing Resident Evil 4 on a TV. Maybe if you are going to play the various remastered versions they've made over a number of years, you won't get too immersed. It's kind of a dated game. VR manages to break all these structures. While on TV you are watching the world, in VR you are inside that world. While you played with Leon in the past, nowadays you can be Leon. This is the power of virtual reality, and that's why the word immersion is always mentioned when someone is talking about this new media. VR is still very new, a media that emerged in 2016. Everyone uses to say that video games are new, and they are from the 70s. Resident Evil 4 VR breaks this immersion several times. You try to pick a box and you can't. You stab a ganado and it just gets pushed back. You try to move a piece of furniture and need to press a button. You try to live that story, but it takes you out of the picture and makes you watch that story. These are the biggest complaints from the VR community for Resident Evil 4. But it doesn't matter. It's Resident Evil 4 in virtual reality. No one ever imagined that this would happen. The graphics are the same as on the PS2, or at least you have the impression that it is the same. This has been improved, because now you are seeing everything in front of you. The enemies are more or less my height. Even the stranger is a little taller than me. Whenever I left the store, I was face to face with him. It scared me a lot. Weapons are attached to your body, just as Leon is equipped with them. The puzzles are environmental. You need to physically interact with things. It's not just pressing buttons on a controller. There's no words to describe the feeling of having to fight the guy with the chainsaw who terrified me during my childhood. These issues, lack of feedback, the cutscenes, the third-person scenes, none of that bothers me. But that's something that only happens with this game. It only happens because it's a PS2 classic. Seeing these words is almost like going back to that time. Even though I don't have much nostalgia for the game, I look at the box, you wouldn't able to get it on the PS2. I know the wife won't get stuck in the ganado's head. That didn't happen on PS2. Obviously, problems like cutscenes or the boat battle could be done better. But even these cutscene moments, the boat is a tragedy, even these cutscene moments served as a breather for you to continue that adventure being Leon. I want to play more VR, much more. I want all the PS2 games to be brought to VR. I want God of War in VR. I want GTA San Andreas in VR. I write this before the announcement. I want Silent Hill VR, I want Final Fantasy VR, I want Shadow of the Colossus in VR, I want Devil May Cry in VR, I want Ratchet and Clank in VR. I want to play everything in virtual reality.